And we go to panel 2 now. We can see Dr. Anurag Batra, the Business World Editor-in-Chief and founder of Exchange for Media, who is sitting there. He has personally taken a lot of interest on cryptocurrency. He's aware that in his panel, there are founders, there are people like Serge who have come, Nishal is there. These are the thought leaders for the entire world. Over to you, Dr. Anurag Batra, for the second panel.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra. Congratulations to Pratibha, Purva, Mr. Nair, and you for doing a session and setting the tone. I have a tough act to follow because some of the things that have been talked about will still be relevant in terms of regulation, in terms of aligning all the stakeholders in the same direction. On my panel, I have a very heavyweight panel. I have Sergey Komaromi, former, platform. He runs the Platform Foundation out of Geneva. I have Nishal Shetty, CEO of a platform in the crypto space. I have, it's a WazirX is a platform that is growing very well. Sumit Gupta, who's the co-founder and CEO of CoinDCX, and I have Avinash Shekhar of ZebPay. So really, these are people who are pioneers in this business. Sergey has been a pioneer. Sumit, Nishal, all of them are making sure that they're doing. These are early days in the crypto world, and the March order of lifting the ban on crypto was very welcome, but not much has happened in the last 7 months, I would say. The expectations in March were very high, but with Corona happening and the economic environment being slow, nothing has happened as anticipated. Of course, there has been volatility on these exchanges. The prices of Bitcoins and two other cryptocurrencies have gone up, and gold prices have gone up. And I don't know if there's a connection or not, but the investors are spending more and more time in their homes. They're doing e-trading, and they do see Bitcoin as an opportunity. They see cryptocurrencies as opportunity. We need to create a more enabling framework. Yes, in every domain, when it's in early days, there are regulatory issues. I know when investments are involved, when investors are involved, the government tends to wear kids' gloves. I would also say there are vested interests who wouldn't want cryptocurrencies to be that popular till they have figured out what they want to do with their plans on crypto. Without naming, I am sure you understand who I'm referring to. So let me bring in each one of you for your opening comments on how the platforms in crypto world can be really strengthened, what is the regulators can do, what the platform owners can do, and what the investors can do. Of course, there are other stakeholders as advisors, so on and so forth, but let's keep it simple. Let me start with Sergey. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Well, it's a French name, kind of, or Russian name, but Serge is okay. Go ahead. Yes, you made it right.
Surge in the cryptocurrency world. Literally a surge. But Sergey, go ahead. Give us your opening comments.
Okay. So first of all, I wanted to say that actually it's nothing marginal. The blockchain technology, which is underlying the cryptocurrencies, it's something, it's a superior way of transacting. It's cheaper, it's quicker, it's more democratic, it's more transparent, it's much better. Okay, it's like oil is better than coal. So, and it's not a fad. Actually, the grandmother of one of my colleagues at the time thought that electricity was a fad and it would go away quite quickly. Actually, nowadays, when something has been discovered, invented, and is by far superior to the old ways of doing things, even though vested interest might try to slow it down, by the way, which has been the case, by the way, at the end of the day, it will impose itself. So that is my first general remark. I think that Bitcoin and now altcoins and everything, we are just at the beginning, okay? But it will impose itself. We have not yet reached mass adoption at all, but I might also come back to that in a second. And the second thing I wanted to say, don't forget what were the circumstances in which Bitcoin, was invented. That was the Great Recession. That was the heart attack from the financial system globally, who gave birth to Bitcoin in the first place. Okay, and the second general thing I wanted to say is that if you are a little bit, studying history, and especially like financial history in humankind, you'll find out that fiat experiments have always been transient and usually are finishing with like going to zero, right? So these are I would say the main two things I want to say is that we have now a superior way of transacting, okay? And it will impose itself in due course, and it might, and also, and then I don't want to monopolize too much, but about the timing, you said that nothing much happened since the ban was lifted, actually. And as you said yourself, just a few minutes later, actually, the timing was so lucky because that was just at the bottom of the black kind of like fear that Wall Street had to cope with in March. And at the time, the Bitcoin went down to 4,700, which was a little bit disappointing. But now it's like above 12,000. And I have to say that a flurry, a firework of announcements, initiatives, and so on, BIS, IMF, Chinese, the Chinese will come out with a cryptocurrency of their own quite soon. US is a bit panicking. Sweden and everyone, digital Swiss franc will come sooner or later, blah, blah, and everything. No, now we have really, the timing is incredible. And also, then I can also speak a little bit about Switzerland and what happened, but I don't want to monopolize.
So, my last comment before I bring in everyone. From where you're sitting, see, India is, I think we've improved on kind of leading the world, but mostly in a lot of areas we follow the world. Now, when you're in Switzerland, how do you see the Indian market? I just want a small commentary on that.
Okay. You are almost as bad as Europe. Okay.
Thank you for
now,
that.
Now, wait a minute. I want to explain. I want to explain a little bit. We are caught between two elephants, being China and the US. Okay. And we are a little bit similar. We are very much, if I compare EU to India, okay, it's very much federal. It's it's quite big. It's democratic. It's a lot of things. But where are the new tech champions? When you want to search, you go to Google. When you want to speak to your friends, you go to Facebook. And those things. And it seems that, and the same for us, okay? And since we could not have champions, we are now trying to regulate those elephants, tech elephants from the US. So I think, but now I want to finish with a very positive comment, which I believe deeply in, which is that India has everything to succeed. You have a huge population. You have a young population. You have an IT-savvy population. You have a democratic process, more or less. Hopefully, it will continue like this. You have. I was discussing with Apurva the other day. You have this new telephone. What is the name? Jio or something?
Jio. The platform. It's a platform. It's a telco, and I wrote a piece 14 years back that the differentiation between what is a telco, what is a media company, and what is a technology company, as we would call it, TMT, it'll go away, and that's what has happened. They want to do everything. They want to do content. They want to do communities. They want to do commerce. So he also has physical. It's owned by India's richest man. He's just during lockdown, he raised about a little short of $20 billion. If you take his retail business and the platform business, so Jio, it's Jio.
Yeah, Jio.
And there's a joke going around, Sergey, that he will buy Mumbai and he'll call it Jio de Janeiro. But that's a joke. Don't take it seriously.
Jio can be seen as an infrastructure for the development of the.
By the way, he's laying cables, very high speed fiber cables, which will bring content to your one screen, and through that screen you can Facebook is invested in it, Google is invested in it, and you can order. They're digitizing the last mile merchants, the small shops in your neighborhood. We call them the Kirana merchants. They're digitized. So on WhatsApp you can order. So they have an ambitious plan, but yes, a lot of people believe that if Jio launches a cryptocurrency called JioCoin, or then possibly the market will get regularized and it will grow. That's also another expectation. And I remember at Business World, just before the ban was brought in, we did a cover story maybe 2 months before the ban saying there will be a ban. It was a cover, and we said RBI is kind of will bring a death knell to crypto because we had some information, we were right. So clearly, this is a space that we watch very keenly. And I want to say, you talk about blockchain technology has the ability to revolutionize what we do, bring down costs, provide solutions, be digital in a true way, and most important, bring efficiencies in a way that have never been thought of. Also, it is secure. Nothing in this world is fully secure, but it's very secure. So I will come back to you, and thank you, Sarjay, for explaining why India has an opportunity. And we have 3 entrepreneurs in India who are trying to grow this opportunity. They're pioneers. They will have the pioneer's burden of creating the market. Let me bring in Nischal. Nischal, you heard Sarjay. What are your opening comments on what the government can do better, what the platform owners who own exchanges like you can do better, and what the investors need to do?
Sure. I think the first thing that we as an industry expect from the government is just participation. Just get together, hear our point of view. Like in the previous panel, there was talk about the Garg committee report, for example. I would say there has to be a deep participation with the existing crypto industry because we know what is happening on the ground out here. So if regulators start a dialogue, a channel of discussion with us, I think that's going to be the best first step ahead for India. And we, as an industry, we are trying to do that, and I'm sure that we will reach that stage soon. So that's one. The other, as an industry, what are we supposed to do? And I think we are already doing that. A large part of it is self-regulation. And most of the crypto businesses in India wholeheartedly follow this. It's surprising. No one has actually told us to do this. No one has, put the regulatory stuff on us already. But all of us from day one have been following a few practices, which is KYC, AML, and whatever we can, looking at the traditional systems. But I think if there is a formal regulation from the government, that would just make it easy for the industry to ensure that only good actors remain in the ecosystem, and there's no fear of I would say bad actors taking advantage of the regulatory uncertainty that exists today. So that's the second thing. I think the third thing for the consumers, they're doing it brilliantly. Everyone's involved. Even during the RBI ban, for example, the thing that kept us as an industry going was the user base. Because despite the ban, there were hardships for people to get involved in crypto, and they still did that. They went ahead, they transacted in crypto despite not having easy banking access. That shows, and ultimately it's the consumers that drive the entire sector. So I think that in fact is the best I would say signal for all of us, for the government, that people want this. It's not like we are pushing for it. People are asking for it, and it's actually the youngsters. And if you see the history of, be it the internet, mobile phones, youngsters get onto that first, and then the rest of the people follow. And I believe that the youngsters are showing the direction for our nation, which is cryptocurrencies are something they're interested in. So I think we should all get into it, try to understand. Before we even want to say anything negative, we should first try to have some deep understanding of what this is.
You're saying because the government needs to engage with the stakeholders, understand the benefits, and create a framework, because otherwise, anyway, it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And
in July, you had said that your company is growing at 60 to 70%, and in July there were 5 million, cryptocurrency, traders in India, if I may use, investors. That number is up to 6.5 or 7 million now.
Yeah, easily. And in fact, the last 6 months, all of us, not just us, the entire industry has seen a massive jump in the number of people coming online and getting into crypto. Massively because of the whole pandemic, where people have lost their jobs. They want to find alternative ways to
And
invest and make money.
in a deflation, where in an economy which has so much, inflation happening, it is it is more risk proof, if I may say. It
Yeah.
is deflation proof, so to say, right? So clearly, gold, of course, the gold bonds are maturing, so government won't want the gold rates to go up now. So that's why in the last 30 days, the gold rates are stable. But overall, the great gold rates have been growing. So clearly, if there's an opportunity that you rightly said, that the consumers or the investors want to participate, and we should create the right framework. We'll come back again to you. Let me bring in Sumit, your opening remarks.
Sure. Thanks, Anurag, for having me here. And what I can say is that cryptocurrency is seeing a surge as a new asset class for investing in India. And what I've personally seen is that, especially among the young generation, right, which is entering the workforce, they actually want to invest part of their savings into this new asset class. They want to create wealth for themselves. They want to create wealth for them, their families. And these are some of the people who are not investing into equity markets, but directly jumping into crypto. So there's a large chunk of young generation which is directly moving to crypto because they believe in it, right? They believe that this is going to be the future. And these youngsters, they actually want to invest into cryptocurrencies, but because of there are two challenges that I fundamentally see in the Indian crypto ecosystem. One is the lack of regulations. The lack of regulations, is essentially stopping the new people who want to invest, right? They want to invest their hard-earned savings so that they can make wealth. They are not very comfortable doing that because there has been a lot of, negative sentiments in the media. There have been a lot of, news about, crypto being banned by the RBI, right? So these are some, regulation I think is very essential, right? Once we see the regulations come in, then the entire space will grow. And the second challenge that I see in the Indian crypto industry right now is the lack of knowledge, right? If we compare the understanding that Indians have about crypto as an asset class versus what people have in the West, I think there's a gap that I see here, right? And that gaps needs to be filled, right? In addition to what others have said.
Sumit, how do you think that gap can be fulfilled?
So as we are driving, as we are part of the industry, I think it's a collective responsibility to make sure that people are getting the knowledge, right? People are getting the right tools, the right material to start learning about it, right? For example, at Coin-D6, we have launched a Try Crypto campaign where we are telling people that, and we have also launched a DCX Learn platform. It's absolutely free of cost. Any Indian can start, learning about it right from the basic and start understanding, what exactly is Bitcoin, what exactly is blockchain, right? And can become proficient in that, right? I have seen that journey myself. I mean, 5 years back, I was also a newbie. I had no idea about what Bitcoin is. And what we have seen is that, if you want the investor protection, right, I think right knowledge is the key. A lot of people, if they invest without the understanding, they might lose money, right? We have been
in a country which is so underpenetrated in terms of investments, whether you look at the stock markets, you look at mutual funds, you look at any asset class, we are underpenetrated. Even there, we have to do so much education so that in spite of so many years, so of course, crypto is a new area, we need to educate even more. So your campaign in terms of Try Crypto, and educate people, I think collectively as an industry, if you came together and you brought out the facets that are positive and took away these, there are worrisome issues about crypto, which and in the past it has been misused, and all kind of unscrupulous people have become poster boys for crypto in the past. I don't want to take names, but I'm sure you guys are in the industry, that. Avinash, your opening comments.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Anurag. So I think I agree with Sumit on the education part, in the sense that basically the crypto exchanges are, in a way, it's a bridge between the old world and the new world. Right. And what is basically required, not only in the customer side, for example, we try to educate the customer, but I think more importantly, what is required is education on at the government and even at the mainstream media. Many times we read reports in the mainstream media which are like factually incorrect kind of. So I think education and knowing and putting lights on things, that becomes very, very important. There are many, for example, there is a belief that crypto transactions are not traceable. In fact, they are traceable. They are like immutable records which no one can change. Okay, so my belief is that that we'll be able to convince the government on the regulatory side if we get the opportunity to educate both through media and directly to the government, and we are trying to do that.
I would say a lot of time knowing how media works, the negative stories about Bitcoin are prompted by authorities, okay? Because they want to caution people about Bitcoins, about cryptocurrency. I think the biggest need, from my understanding of how the environment works, is for all of you to come together and go to the authorities that matter, whether it's the Ministry of Finance, whether it's SEBI, whether it's the PMO, and explain to subject matter experts there the pros and cons, and explain to them how the cons are being covered, how to make, because the government's interest is that no investor should be cheated. Second is, as you know, Bitcoins in the past could have been misused by anti-national elements, by money launderers, so on. I don't want to go that route, but they could have been. At least there were worries. Yes, Avinash, you want to say something?
So actually, if you said that exchange which are sitting in between to actually prevent that from happening. If you criminalize the exchange, you are actually inviting all those negative or cons and as an industry, actually we are trying.
It's like prohibition. The more you make prohibition, the liquor is available at 2x price of the market. So clearly, the way to enable any ecosystem is to be upfront about it, to allow it to happen. Anything that you suppress will find other ways of manifesting.
Yeah. And Nishal said that basically.
Yes, go ahead.
As Nishal said that basically, ban will only remove the good players and bring the bad players into the market.
Totally. Sarjay, if we had to do 3 things as Indians, as a regulator, as the government, what would your advice to decision makers in this country?
Okay, first of all, yeah. A question to me, right?
Yes, sir.
So first of all, I would impress on the government, and that's your role, guys, how inevitable it is. Don't lose this opportunity, because if you don't catch it, it will go anyway, and it will go. If you take it out by the door, it will come back by the window later, and you will be only a passive actor instead of a participant to the new. The global standards and norms and so on. Indeed, and this is exactly the same in Switzerland, and I agreed with self-regulation and so on, it's all about AML. It's all about AML. But this is a little bit like also, it's true that marginally, probably there is like terror or maybe like illegal money or even, terrorist money, I don't believe so much, but maybe like tax evasion money. Yeah, that is, but it's nothing new. Do you know that in Switzerland, we have the largest, the higher value banknote in the world, 1,000 Swiss francs, one note, 2 grams that you put in your pocket, $1,200, right? So, so this is the first thing I would do is to convince Indian authorities in general that now is time to foster your potential and stop kicking you in the foot. Okay, number one.
You're right, Sanjay. You're saying focus on the positive possibilities because it's anyway inevitable, and minimize the negative aspect.
Right, and to that, why don't you indeed, as a precedent panelist, Mr. Naya was saying. So why don't we draw a little bit on what is happening on other countries? I wouldn't pretend we are so much ahead, by the way. But it's a bit the same ideas as in India. by definition, this is not toxic waste. This is a new opportunity. Okay, so instead of banning, and as in India, in Switzerland, we have freedom of commerce and association and enterprise, and we are a liberal country. So at the end of the day, the financial authorities in Switzerland are saying the following. By definition, we will not regulate ICOs, for instance, okay, or these cryptocurrencies, because it's a new development, it's a new technology, and Swiss authorities declare themselves to be technology neutral. They don't take sides, okay? They will make sure, and as another lady panelist was saying in the first panel, that in fact consumers, users, players, investors are protected, but it's nothing new. It's exactly the same with financial activities and so on. As you said, Switzerland has been keen on for decades now, okay? So that's the number two. Regulation, but in a kind of like light way. And what Switzerland did, and in case I would be only too happy to feed you with references and links so that you can check the few documents which are relevant in Switzerland, and you will find out that we have, for instance, established categories in the token. We have 3 categories which are not exclusive from each other. One is payment token, that would be Bitcoin, for instance, Ethereum, and so on. We have utility token that could help to access a service or a platform. And we have security token, in which you need prospectus, you need to get a little bit more regulated, because you might promise things to people like a share or a bond. Okay, so Swiss authorities are recognizing that this blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies are vastly different animals, okay, in the new zoo, and that in fact you cannot regulate the elephant and I don't know, like a flea. Categories, freedom, and then the last thing I want to say, holistic approach to each new idea and project to see how far it has to be regulated, and in the first place, in which category it can be placed. For instance, Bossa Agora project, we have also our token, the BOA, is a so-called hybrid token, because we have payment, some features, and utility features. We are not a security token, you see? So pragmatic, down to earth, liberal, light touch.
Applications and different usages, and then different kind of investors. So that enlarges the market.
And different types of regulations, more heavy or lighter.
Depending on the usage, depending on the nature of the token.
Yes.
Nishal, today we are talking on October 2020. If I talk to you in October 2021, what is your sense of where we are headed, or where would you like us to be headed? Give us a sense in terms of numbers, how big the industry will be. Let's assume that we all are able to impress upon the government on the positive aspects of cryptocurrency, and the government creates an enabling framework with all the checks and balances, and the deployment and acceleration of cryptocurrency grows hugely. So where will we be in a year?
I think in a world of everything being perfect for this industry, I think we can easily grow at least 5 to 10x than what we are today.
So you're saying from 6.5 in July we were 5 million, in August, September we were 6.5. Let's say we are 7 million. You're saying we'll grow 5x is 35 million, 10x is 70 million.
Yeah, at least 30 to 50 million. I can say that those many, and I'll give you the reason why. This is very, so we want to equate crypto with finance, and that is true. But let's look at something before that. What happened with the internet? You had regular postal services, and then the email came. and you see the adoption that it can get. It's very similar to that out here. The traditional financial system is like the postal services of the old world, and your cryptocurrencies are like the email of the new world. And if I think 30 to 50, I would still be underplaying the numbers because ultimately what would happen is there would be a day when everyone in India would be involved in crypto in some way or the other. Just like everyone has a mobile phone, everyone has email or some form of online social identity. Crypto is going to be part of our online social behavior. So I'm still underplaying the numbers, but yeah, I think we can easily go 5 to 10x what we are today.
Thank you so much. And if you had to do one thing, what you as an entrepreneur can do, what you as WazirX can do, what would be that to contribute to this growth?
So, I've been doing a few things already. One is spreading awareness through this campaign called India Wants Crypto, which I started. It's been 723 days now. And the idea was to spread the right information, like we all discussed before. Spreading the right information is the solution to everything, because all of these problems that we see today, all of the confusion, it only exists because there's such a new technology which changes every month, I would say. Understanding it and knowing what it is the most important thing. Once people know that, I really doubt someone would really be completely against cryptocurrencies. So spreading this knowledge is the number one thing that I'm doing personally. The other is, as entrepreneurs, all of us should look at building large companies. And I'll tell you why. Let's take the example of the United States. They have at least $5 billion crypto industry, like companies today. And that has forced the regulators there to collaborate and work towards regulation. Because when you create large industries that can function, the government would not want to kill it. They would want to regulate it because that grows our economy. So I think as entrepreneurs, we should look at building large companies in this space. Whether there is regulation or not, we cannot wait for it. We should go and, technology always precedes regulation. So we should not really sit back. We should all create the largest companies we can in this space in India so that the government wants to regulate it. I think we have to show the path forward. And that's what, at least at WazirX, we are trying to do, build a large company.
So you're saying anything that legitimately grows the economy will be welcome and hence create an impact which grows the economy. That's what I'm hearing. Sumit Gupta, that's one thing that you will do to be at 35, 50 million as an industry. Of course, as a player in it, you will benefit. So just want to understand.
Yeah, Anurag, I'm of the firm opinion that if we want to grow the industry, right, education continues to remain as the key component. And why I want to highlight that is, that currently in terms of awareness, we are less than 0.4% of the population, right? These are the people who are like somehow directly or indirectly touching crypto, right? And if you talk about like US, I mean, the number is 10x from here already, right? So there's a big gap. And if we want the industry to grow, right, it has to, right now there is a lot of gap in terms of understanding, so we have to handle the customers. Crypto as an industry, as an asset class, is fundamentally very complex, right now in terms of financial literacy, we a lot of people don't even know how to invest in stock market, or that's why a lot of people find very simple instruments like mutual funds. But in terms of financial literacy is already very low in the country, and crypto is complex, right? So we don't want people to lose money. We want investor protection. We want people, to make safe judgments so that they don't lose money in the process. So if we handhold them, if we, guide them properly, if we take them from a, ground zero to, a person who has invested or has taken exposure to crypto, I think it is our collective responsibility to guide those customers, right? And we, as industry player, it's something that we would want to do, right? Take them, take people from zero to and take them to a stage so that they can catch the momentum and can continue learning on that. Because once you start, once you understand the crux of the technology, I think you will get awed by the beauty, right? And then people who understand it, what we can do is once people start understanding about it, we'll see a lot of new opportunities for India in terms of investments. A lot of people India has a pool of startup entrepreneurs, right? So they would want to start something in the crypto space. If they start something in the crypto space, there will be lots of job opportunities that will be created, right? That will grow the industry. Government will, as Nishal mentioned, right? Government would not want to kill the industry. There will be a lot of new investments that will come into the Indian crypto ecosystem. People would automatically start creating thousands of businesses in the country itself, which will again grow the industry. So again, it will have a cascading effect. So I think all of that starts with the education, and that's something that is very close to our heart. And I think that's one key component, because without education, if people are losing money, then the industry will not grow. If people are not making the right investments, then the industry will not grow. So I think it all starts with the right education. India is a very diverse country. It's not just about just writing things or writing blogs. I think like you'll need content, massive amount of content in different languages in different parts, so that people mass adoption can happen. So lot of work needs to be done in India in terms of education awareness. I think all of the industry participants needs to come together. Media has a big role to play. Whenever a good positive news comes up, it should go to the people equally as much as the bad news goes, right? So lot of activities needs to be done together. You'll need to educate the regulators, you will need to educate the masses, and you will need to educate the industry participants. All of them have to come together. I think it's a combined effect of all of these things which will take the industry forward.
Thank you so much. Avinash, your last word before I bring in the question. Saurabh Baweja from Trust Legal wants to ask a question. There are other questions from Rekha Kumbhat. There are questions from Tulasi Rao Lanke. So before we bring them in, your last point.
So actually, I agree with both Nishal and Sumit here that I think the one thing which we need to do as an industry is education. I mean, what we believe in Zepay is also like even for our customers, that knowledge, conviction, and then investment, basically. Because if the customer loses its money, if they don't know how to secure their crypto, it is going to be a big negative for the industry. Second thing is that education will also bring innovation, and I believe that in India there is a huge potential of innovation. As of now in the crypto space, there is so much things which are happening. Even like I am not able to keep up with. There are so many things which are happening in crypto space, and it's just the beginning. I believe. I mean, I'm basically what I believe is that if we are able to explain what Bitcoin is, I mean, I don't believe someone will say that say that it's bad or it's something which should not be there, kind of.
There is, because of the government's banning, there is a certain negativity associated, which has not fully gone. Let's accept that, because only then we can fix it. And dare I say, I'm an outsider, and I was an advisor to a very big leading Bitcoin company, and I resigned after much before the ban. And I think 4.5 or 6 months before, I resigned because there were things that made me uncomfortable. I asked some basic questions, right? So dare I say, a lot of entrepreneurs went into it headlong without understanding that this is a very regulated area. Financial services, financial domain is very regulated, because the government doesn't want anybody who's a citizen, who's an investor, to lose money. So I think my 2 cents would be, you have 2 jobs. One, to convince the policymakers, and along with them come up with a framework that safeguards the interests. Second is, while you do that, to be able to do education around Bitcoins and cryptocurrency. And you should do this collectively together. So that's what I would say. I want to bring in Saurabh's question. He specifically asked this question of Nishal Shetty, who's the WazirX founder. What is the procedure and estimate time for listing of tokens, and what is the approximate cost for the same?
So I think I saw this question in the previous panel as well. See, listing of tokens, and the whole discussion we had right now was about ensuring that investors don't lose money, protection. And the thing with tokens or crypto in general is that anyone, anywhere in the world can create crypto, just like anyone can create websites. So if I was to create a list of amazing websites in the world that are safe, I would say that's like the toughest job in the world, because you don't know when what website could do what. That's the same job we have as exchanges, to list the right kind of cryptocurrencies, and it's a really hard thing to do. So while some tokens we can list overnight because we see that the global population has adopted it, some tokens take us forever because we do not know what's behind this, who's the team member, what's the history of that. So it's a very subjective answer. It could take anywhere from a day to never. It's just how it is.
Thank you so much, Mr. for being so honest. It could be one day or never. It seems like making your wife happy. You could make her in one day or never. I don't know if all of you are married once or more than once, but I've been married only once and I stay married. There's another question. Satish Durga is asking, will the entire stock market crash? If it happens, will it benefit the crypto? So will the money flow from one well to another well, from a filled well to a small well? That's what he says. And Rekha Kumbat is asking, apart from Bitcoin, which other cryptocurrencies like Ripple, Ethereum, Tron will have prominent growth in future?
Can I answer that first question? The part about, and this is a misconception where people think if crypto works, the other industries will fall. But I see crypto as being here to add value to existing financial systems. Just like the online world did not kill the offline businesses, I don't believe that having crypto succeed in a country means the demise of an existing financial system. It's going to, in fact, what it's going to do is, if our economy is worth $2.5 trillion, this can add maybe $500 billion in the next 5 to 10 years as an industry. So I see crypto as an enabler, and it's going to add to the wealth, not remove from it and eat into something. That's how I see this.
Thank you so much. Anybody, Sajay, Sumit, Avinash, if you want to add something. There's a question from Tulsi Rao Lanke. This question is for Nischal and Avinash. My question is, if Indian government asks to stop exchange withdrawal, means what you guys do, will you guys stop in withdrawal and send funds to their wallet, to customer wallet addresses, etc.? So if the stock exchanges are not allowed, will you directly send it? Recently, I have seen that one of the top exchange, OKEX, has stopped crypto withdrawal. Any idea what happened? Also, I want to know what is the assurance you can give to Indian customers that buying crypto and trading crypto is safe in India? I think that's the crux of the matter. See, I do so many conversations with entrepreneurs, business people who invest. I think that's the fundamental. How will you make sure that Indian investors feel that buying crypto and trading crypto is safe? So it's just a question to Sumit and Nischal. Let Sumit take
Sure.
it. Nischal,
Sure.
and Sarjay, all of it.
Yeah, I think that is where the need for regulations comes in, right? Right now, it's important for us to understand that it's difficult for businesses to operate in an environment of uncertainty, right? And right now, because a lot of people have these questions that how can I be sure that my crypto is safe? What we need essentially here is a guideline from the government that exchanges need to follow all of that. And if something bad happens to the investors' money, then how our exchange is going to compensate for that, right? So that there is no exchange that comes up and suddenly does something so then and people lose money. So that should not happen, right? And I think that is where once the government regulates the whole space, that is when the right protocols will come into picture. Exchanges will understand what they need to comply with in terms of AML, KYC, security. Exchanges will need to go through a proper process, right? Right now we are all trying to do it by a self-regulatory document, but if we have a guideline or a proper structure, I think that will give a lot of clarity. Just like, for example, people are saying, how can I be sure that buying crypto is safe, right? And there are millions of people who will have the same question. There will be a lot of people who will have the same questions. What if this happens? What if that happens? So I think once the industry gets some sort of guidelines, then the whole space will get more legitimate. There will be a layer of credibility that will get added to the space, and we will not see questions like this, right? So one thing is legitimacy is needed for the industry to grow, and as exchanges are getting more and more matured, all of these things are already in picture, right? For example, AML, KYC, all of these things are already in place. But what next, right? So we need to as the space gets more and more matured, we need to solve all of these problems one by one. And in terms of safety, there are lot of things that exchanges need to work on, right? And that essentially will happen when the space gets more regulated, when there is guidelines, so that exchanges know what exactly to do, right? What exactly we need to follow, what to do in if this happens, what to do if that happens. So yeah.
Okay, Sarjay, Nishchal, your comment, then we bring in Sarjay and Avinash and wrap this up.
Yeah, so I think all said and done, while we can do a lot of things, one thing that everyone should understand is crypto is definitely on a risk scale of 0 to 10. I would say it's on the 10 right now, just because it's so new, and it's very similar to how when you use a new product, something new that's launched.
Market risk. In the disclosure document, you say that these are the risks, and I like, Nishchal, you've been very honest about the realistic scenario, and all of you have been real about how the cryptocurrency ecosystem is in India. Go on.
Yeah, so I think that's the first thing that everyone should know, that it's a high risk market right now because it's early. And but as an industry, what we are doing is now what Sumit said, we are building a code of conduct, and all of us, WazirX, CoinDCX, Zeppay, all of us are part of it, and we are going to adhere to that as an industry, so that our users' safety is taken into context, and also we can show this to the government as well, that we are already following something that they can probably adapt eventually. So that's the other thing that as an industry we are doing, following a common code of conduct. And I would say whoever is doing that, that's some level of safety for users, knowing that this exchange in India is following this code of conduct. So we are bringing that in to bring in the user safety aspects.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Sarjay,
can I just add one thing?
Yes, Sarjay, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Okay. First of all, I would say that
you're very well mannered. You would never get an opportunity on Indian television to say anything if you waited for your permission. But go ahead.
No, but quickly, just to say that actually, okay, how risky is this? I would say that it's a little bit like at the beginning of the 20th century. How many car makers in the US? Do you know that? About 5,000. So we are the beginning here. We have 2,000 altcoins. Not everyone will become a General Motors or Ford, right? But I would say that you cannot compare Bitcoin or the number 250 or 350 token in the coin market cap. It's not exactly the same animal either, okay? So I would say that research and also checking what is the project behind this token, that's one thing I wanted to add. And one thing we have maybe not discussed, and we should maybe in another panel later, is that so what is it all about? It's not only speculation and value and so on. It's maybe also to help doing something, doing something for the planet, doing something for industry, for whatever. I give you just one hint. What about construction and blockchain? Construction, building. This is a huge industry. There has been virtually no disruption in this industry, okay, over the last 50 years or whatever. Now it's a mess. I have been marginally involved in construction. Even in Switzerland, it's a mess. So in order to maybe change completely the way of people are doing, putting everything on the blockchain, and using cryptocurrencies as a reward for good behavior, and so on. It's a new ecosystem, new things. We are just at the beginning. I agree on that, and we cannot even imagine how many side business and all other businesses directly or indirectly linked to it. It's huge, really huge, really. Yes. So sorry, just wanted to add that.
Avinash, you have the last word before we wrap it up.
So actually, I think on risk part, there are different kind of risk. We have regulatory risk, which is obviously there in India. You have price risk, and obviously we all know that there is a lot of volatility, although it's going down in crypto. And then obviously there is a risk as one question came with that, if government says that you hand over the crypto or to the government, will obviously whether we'll do it or not, kind of. Another risk is exchange getting hacked, and we have seen, unfortunately, we have not seen in our exchange, but we have seen all over the world that exchange gets hacked. Okay, so all these things, I think the knowledge and education becomes very, very important. There are certain risks which you can't do anything about it. I mean, regulation, you don't know what the government will do, but there are certain risks which you know that you are taking, price volatility, and there are certain risks which you can manage. For example, I mean, it's not, let's say, in favor of exchange. For example, in crypto, there is a saying that not your keys, not your coin. And as of now, most of the retail side, at least, people keep their coins or crypto with the exchanges. Okay, if they keep it not for a trading purpose, for a long-term purpose, they should and actually own their private keys. Okay, they should educate themselves how to manage their crypto, how to not lose their crypto. So at least some part of is that where they can mitigate the risk, so to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra. Here, before we wrap up, Business World and Trust Legal have done it. Trust Legal is doing a lot of cutting-edge work in new areas. There are a lot of gray areas, and possibly need a strategy and insights that can make it more robust as we move forward for all stakeholders. Mr. Mishra, your final word.
Thank you, Anurag, and thank you everybody who joined this panel. We tried something very ambitious, but I think the intensity of both the panels will tell that the founders panel as well as the legal panel, we had some very interesting conversation. I can only assure Nishal, Sumit, Serge, and Avinash that we will be there to assist you for anything which you want to do with the government. Because we are very good with the government. That's what we have been working with Business World, and that's the idea was to start a conversation, the round table kind of thing, which Gandhi started in this country almost 80 years back. We have done this for pharma, we have done for life.
The only reason he got me to moderate the session because I resemble Gandhi.
Yeah, you resemble Gandhi, and that could be the reason. But I think advocacy will be the answer to some of the problems of the industry. And advocacy with a very strong input of policy intervention. So thanks a lot, and Anurag, many thanks for asking me.
Sanjay, today is a very auspicious day. We're discussing it on Ashtami. We have a 9-day fasting and a religious festival. When it's the season of festivals now, and it's a very auspicious to do anything. The home sales open after this. The auto sales open after it. Of course, liquor and non-veg sales also go up from Monday. It's a very auspicious day without bringing down the seriousness of what I am saying. We've done this discussion on a day which is very auspicious. I hope it augurs well for the industry. And as you rightly said, Nishal, you all become big and contribute to the growth of the GDP. And once you start contributing, the government will become an enabler. So I think you have a bright future. We wish you luck. And thank you, Mr. Mishra and Trust Legal, for partnering with BW Business World on this important and new area. Though it's an old area for the last 6 years, but still lots of new things that come to the fore every day. And from a policy standpoint, clearly a lot of things need to be streamlined and made transparent. And policy consistency. We have to have a long-term policy on it. Of course, if there are changes in the environment, we need to respond to them, but we can't change. As you know, there's still a bill pending, 2019 bill to ban cryptocurrency. Now, we don't know the fate of that bill. It's like a sword of Damocles that is hanging on our head. So clearly we need clarity, and my suggestion would be that bill needs to go away, and we need to bring in legislation which enables the sector with all checks and balances. But enables rather than disables. So that's what I would say. And that's where India will grow. I mean, blockchain as a concept has so much potential applied to manufacturing, applied to every sector, both external stakeholders and internal stakeholders, that it can bring efficiencies that we cannot imagine. So we leave it at that. Good evening. All the best.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, whatever is left of it. And hopefully the crypto world will grow, and so will the number of investors in this ecosystem. So thank you, Serjai. Thank you, Nishal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody. Thanks, Anurag.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I'm on anurag.batra@businessworld.in. Anurag.batra@targeted. Okay. and we may
Okay,
launch a
thank you.
full-fledged community around this. So editorial community, like we have for like a specialized product for this editorial, bringing policymakers there. So anyway, we'll be in touch. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Hi, Sajay.
Bye.